In its trend analysis for 2023, Gartner Research predicts that enterprises will have to expand from threat to exposure management to stay ahead of cybercriminals. This puts an even stronger focus on the hacker's perspective and requires technology and services enabling this view. Among these technologies and services are penetration testing as well as attack path management. As the goals of the two disciplines are so similar, are they even interchangeable, or is one of them to be preferred over the other? In this expert talk, Volker Röthel, CEO of it.sec, a member of the Swiss IT security group, and myself, Tobias Träbing, Technical Director EMEA of XM Cyber, will discuss. Volker, does penetration testing react to recent changes in the threat landscape? And if so, what were the trends in 2022 and possible outlooks in 2023?
Well, Toby, in fact, that's not only true for recent changes. Penetration testers need to keep themselves permanently up to date. New attack techniques, public vulnerabilities, research, brand new research, everything is published all the time continuously. And of course, our experts do just that. They invest a lot of time keeping up with current developments in this field. One thing that supports them in particular is the broad expertise of our group, the Swiss IT security group. Especially one of our members, the AV test, has one of the world's largest malware databases. They gather and provide huge amounts of information on cyber attacks every single day. This guarantees that our penetration testers will always be one step ahead. One current trend is that more and more companies use cloud providers in addition to their on-premises infrastructure. And so they generate a so-called hybrid setup for their infrastructure. This makes it challenges for those companies to assess the risks, to configure their environments properly. And so constellations are getting more complicated and increase the attack surface considerably. Toby, you're probably facing similar topics. How do attack path management solutions address the fact that the threat landscape is changing rapidly? How are new attack techniques added to your picture?
That's a good question, Volker. Thank you. Actually, we have a massive team behind our product, making actually sure that all of the new attack techniques are constantly added to the product, to the platform itself. And while that team is working 24/7, we can stay on top of the things as new security issues arise and actually deploy them seamlessly for all of our customers through the SaaS delivery model with no operational impact whatsoever. That way, all new attack techniques, including the latest and most significant vulnerabilities you see, for example, on the news, are covered with great detail, providing operational excellence to our customers. Volker, what was the most unusual job your team was ever faced with?
In fact, there's not one single spectacular project, Toby. One of our most spectacular projects surely was to physically break into a customer's premises, which was quite an adventure. It involved obtaining equipment that is not really usual for IT companies, like rope ladders or masks. We had to overcome physical barriers at that customer, security doors, access control systems like smart card readers or fingerprint scanners. The ultimate goal was to reach a server and physically access it. This is particularly important for companies dealing with data where continuous availability is crucial, because for the attacker, it's enough to switch off the server. Toby, I often see amazing findings our penetration testers come back with and how these help our customers improve their security posture. Where do you see the main difference to what attack path management might uncover? Are there findings that a penetration tester might miss?
That's a good point, Volker. Thank you for raising that, actually, because especially when we talk about penetration tests, traditional penetration tests in general, right, we usually refer to them as a one-time activity in a very specific environment. And you just used the perfect example yourself, getting physical access to one server, right? This is what we usually see in pen test engagements. It's focusing on a specific environment, on a piece of an environment, on a staging environment, test environments, etc. And comparing this with the attack path management approach, the benefits and added value of running a continuous attack path analysis becomes actually quite obvious. Attack path management provides a complete coverage of the entire environment in production 24/7 while not causing any downtimes to the production systems themselves. And this gives continuous visibility into all of the security relevant aspects, reflecting environmental changes and even risky user behavior. And one thing is super important to consider. With the attack path analysis and the attack path management services, we can identify even the slightest hint. For example, let's say a credential hash, right? Cached on just one single machine, I can put an environment at risk, the total environment at risk, and attack path management can actually cover all of that. Volker, having said all of that, what are the findings that penetration testers will uncover that attack path management might actually miss?
Well, Toby, penetration testers are typically good at thinking outside the box. There's a strong focus on creativity, exploration, personal experience. They will therefore uncover connections that a machine probably will not find because the connection is unprecedented. A related topic is the human factor. Attack path management does not focus on human mistakes, on careless user behavior or similar things. And so attack path management will not include social engineering, for example, phishing attacks. Furthermore, performing penetration tests of applications like mobile applications or web applications is not really the focus of attack path management. And at least more sophisticated vulnerabilities will not be detected. Finally, penetration test attacks are actually simulated on the productive systems themselves, in a controlled way, but on the productive systems. Whereas the attack path management platform does not perform simulations on the systems themselves. Therefore, in penetration tests, the visibility of conducted attacks can be tracked inside, for example, monitoring or CM solutions, which is an advantage for the customer.
Volker, in a typical customer scenario, what does actually happen after the penetration tests themselves? What do enterprises do to mitigate risks?
Yeah, good question, Toby. First of all, at the end of every penetration test, the customer receives a detailed results report. It's standardized. It includes recommendations on how to solve or mitigate each finding. The recommendations vary, of course, on the finding. Sometimes it's just a small change in a configuration. Sometimes developers need to adapt source code, and sometimes affects the whole infrastructure of the customer. So sometimes new hardware may be ordered or may be required to solve the problem. Anyway, for each finding, we provide a technical vulnerability score in a standardized way. So customers need to rate and prioritize the findings for themselves in the context of their own risk environment, of their company infrastructure. If no technical solution is feasible, managers might decide to accept the risk of a vulnerability even. Most of the times, the penetration testing team will do a presentation at the customers explaining the results of the penetration test. And if more in-depth help is required, of course, our group, the Swiss IT Security, provides several suitable services to mitigate this risk. So in this way, the approaches of penetration testing and attack path management are quite similar. So this is why the two disciplines are such a good match. Toby, is timing a crucial factor when it comes to identifying attack paths and analyzing threat exposure? If so, how does the continuity of attack path management analysis contribute to uncovering threats that might remain undetected by one-time penetration tests?
Timing is actually critical in understanding the attack path and exposures within companies, right? Companies and responsible stakeholders of the different teams very often use actually ad hoc processes, or let's call them timely and efficient ways to assess the infrastructure. Two examples: a traditional vulnerability scan being performed, let's say once a quarter, maybe every week, but it's just an ad hoc process. Another example, actually fitting very well into the focus of today's talk, is penetration tests as well, right? Giving you just a snapshot of a given time frame, really, or possibly even just of an environment. And this will clearly not help companies overcoming the ever-changing landscape of their environment. And while you might think that the on-premise environment, Active Directory, is already quite complex, we now see more and more cloud and infrastructure as a service providers being used as well, right? Enabling businesses to run operations even faster than before. Yet this dynamic is adding another layer of complexity and increasing the risk of overlooking exposures and security issues. As the attack path management analysis runs actually 24/7, the platform can tell organizations at any given point in time what their exposures are and how changes to either the good through patching or to the bad, new vulnerabilities within the environment are affecting these exposures. Attack path management services therefore really help to quickly and easily understand the impact of new security issues. As an example, Log4j, right? That's a good one. But also measure and quantify the cyber risk to communicate that to other stakeholders like board members very easily, very naturally as well. And also what can be done to overcome the exposures in the most efficient way.
Obviously, Toby, there's no point in doing daily or weekly penetration tests because of the noise they generate. As said before, they are conducted in productive environments and therefore require a lot of preparation and have possible side effects. Now I understand XM Cyber takes a different approach. In that respect, what are the benefits of safe and continuous attack path analysis that does not use active exploits?
Well, Volker, running safe and continuous attack path analysis without any, let's call them active exploits or payloads or any malicious code whatsoever, has several crucial benefits. First of all, it will not create any noise or false alarms in your security organization, like, for example, a SOC, right? They are usually already super busy with their day-to-day operations. So why would you actually overwhelm them with even more alerts just coming from tests, right? That doesn't actually make any sense. In addition, you cannot run active exploits in production environments, right? That is just not feasible, as you are risking, let's call them downtimes or even just service degradations on your critical business services. Yet you need to understand if those entities, those assets, are actually being part of the critical business services and whether they are secured. And you would need to know that actually on a continuous basis as well. Hence, the safe and continuous attack path analysis is really critical to precisely understand all of that.
Toby, being a mathematician, I'm interested in your explanation why 1 + 1 would actually be more than 2 when combining pen testing and attack path management.
Well, Volker, that's an interesting question, and I'm trying to answer it, though it will be very hard overcoming the rules of mathematics. Though when we talk about attack path management and pen testing, when you combine them, you actually get the best out of both worlds, right? On one hand, you get the full coverage of the environment with all of the attack path towards your critical assets on a continuous basis, right? That's the one hand. On the other hand, through that, you are also freeing up super valuable and very valuable resources. For example, your penetration testing teams, right? From tasks that can be easily automated. And ultimately then have the pen testing teams look into areas requiring their in-depth knowledge and expertise. And since you came up with an equation in your question yourself, I'll add a few numbers actually myself as well. Did you actually know that organizations typically have around 11,000 security exposures attackers could actually exploit right now? But only 2 of these exposures lie on so-called choke points on critical key junctions leading towards critical assets. Attack path management can actually single out precisely these 2%, and after remediation, penetration tests can confirm that the doors are really and firmly closed. Volker, one topic actually that always kind of comes up when we talk to clients. And I see that super relevant, especially when combining different services. But how do penetration testing, attack path management, and related services integrate with a comprehensive security architecture?
This is indeed a very good question, Toby, and it's important for all the customers out there. Penetration tests are an effective means to evaluate the security level of a component, particularly in case of applications. Penetration tests can be conducted already during the development so that potential vulnerabilities can be detected early and design decisions can be adjusted. Continuous attack path analysis, on the other hand, is a lot of automated work, which would be a lot of effort and, in addition, error-prone if performed manually. Among others, this includes finding software installed in vulnerable versions, checking configurations. Since the platform runs permanently, it also provides a permanent overview of possible changes in the network. When combining the continuous use of attack path management with recurring penetration tests, you get the best of both worlds. Now integrate these two into your overall security architecture, connect it to your SOC or SOAR, and continuously improve your security posture. Our attack path management services will take even more load off the customer's shoulders by managing continuous attack path analysis for the customer.
Now, Volker, what is actually the bottom line? What do you tell your clients?
Well, the bottom line is quite easy. The bottom line is that combining the personal excellence, the experience of penetration testers, and the continuous service of attack path management is the key to success, because otherwise you need too much individual work where software can do the job better and faster and more reliable. And if just relying on attack path management solutions, you miss the social components, the individual components, things that attack path management can't cover. So combining penetration testing and attack path management maximizes the reduction of a company's threat exposure. It should be a part of an overall security strategy for each company. Penetration testing is particularly strong at thinking outside the box, that's what I said before. And attack path management services provide continuous control and sustainable improvement of the complete security posture of a company. So my bottom line is that the two disciplines actually complement each other perfectly.